Awesome. Welcome. We are back with another live here with 4 at Home. I'm Chef Patrick. My co-host tonight is going to be my late great sous chef, Mr. Jacob Hansen.
Late great? Am I dead?
Well, the restaurant's dead, so
that's true.
Here we are. All right. So to get right to it, tonight we'll be cooking a Tomahawk ribeye steak here. Whatever you ended up, try and walk you through the process of making sure that's perfect. We're also going to be doing some crispy fingerlings and then a beet and carrot salad tossed in a salsa verde, kind of to finish everything off. So we got stuff to get done, so let's get going. We are live. Please ask questions as we go. If you need anything, I will do my best to get that handled for you. So yeah, cool. First things first, we're going to get these potatoes cooking because it's going to take a while. We do want to start these in cold water. They're smaller potatoes, but still cold water on these so that way they cook kind of evenly. Potatoes will kind of heat up with the water itself. Make sure your water is well seasoned. You want to get that flavor kind of to penetrate these, make them taste super good later. All right. Cool. Covered in Dutch oven. So next we're going to pull our steak and we'll get that kind of tempering and seasoned up. Let's see, let's pop over the top here. So we're doing a 2.72 pound Tomahawk. So
what kind of steak do you prefer to cook?
Well, I like them all, and it really just depends on like what we're trying to do. I mean, I love a good fillet. I love New York strips. I love ribeyes like this. They're a lot of fun. I mean, it's not every day I get to eat a steak that's this freaking huge. So, yeah. So, let's see. I'm doing salt and pepper on this. So this thing, I mean, it's huge. So it's going to take, we're going to salt like, we're going to season the whole thing. Top, sides, bottom. If your steak is not this large, just do kind of both sides. And yeah. Cool. Grab pepper.
Do you prefer to temper your meat? Do you leave it out 30 minutes before cooking, or?
So, I mean, I like to temper them a little bit. So I try to be consistent. So whatever you do, like even if you pull it straight from the fridge, as long as you do that every time, you kind of get used to how fast it cooks. Or if you're in the summer, like it really depends. So like in the summertime when it's 90 out, I might pull a steak for like 5 minutes because it's going to warm up really quick. But like right now, if we're cooking and it's like 68 in the room versus like summertime temperatures or whatever's going on, I don't know. I just like to make sure I'm consistent with what's happening. Cool. Let's see. So, steak's out. It's going to temper. We have the potatoes going. So now we are going to whip up this salsa verde really quick. So that way it's ready to go. Cool. So, nice fresh parsley. Kind of shake it. If you hold the top of your bunch and shake it out, this will get rid of the shorter stems. Leave you with this, and then we can reorganize this stuff. We just don't want to, we are going to use stems in this, but we don't want to like keep, all this was down here. So you can see how much stem you would get if you just chop this all the way down. So take your parsley. If you have a long bunch like this, I'm going to fold it in half like so. We want to keep it as tight as we can. And we're going to slice it as thin as you can. So we want to keep fingers out of the way. Make sure you have a sharp knife. And we are going down this bunch as thin as possible, stems and all. I don't mind. We're cutting them nice and short. All right.
Do you have any tips or tricks for cutting herbs in general? A lot of people worry about bruising or...
Yeah, bruising. So you want to put your knife through it as little as possible. And you want to make sure it's sharp. I mean, that's the big thing. So we've got... So I talk about that on every time I cut herbs. You're just... The whole purpose of slicing as thin as possible the first time is so that when you come back, you only need like maybe another pass or two to get it to kind of the consistency you want it, and that will prevent the bruising itself. So we're going to organize this right here. Kind of pick through these so we can get the rest of this. And then we'll chop this as a whole here in just a second to finish it, but we'll probably only pass the knife through one more time. So.
And how often do you sharpen your knives if you're worried about, you always say have a sharp knife.
Yeah. So you just want to do it as needed. I mean, if you're starting to slice through something and notice the knife isn't like falling through it, especially, I mean, you notice the most on things like onions. If you're trying to slice a tomato or something and you're mashing it instead of cutting through it, like that's time. And I'm going to do a class on knife sharpening on one of these live streams once my knife kind of needs it. So we're going to get to that.
So you're not religiously sharpening your knife. It's not necessary, especially at home when you're, kind of just doing home cooking.
No, I mean, at home, you like in the kitchen, we have to sharpen our knives at minimum every month minimum. But we're using them
day in, day out
for like 4 hours of prep, and then for service cutting stuff. I mean, it's just so much use that like cooking at home, you're just not going to see. So, I mean, home use, what, 2 to 3 times a year is probably enough. So we've got this nice bundle here separated. We'll go back through. Again, super thin until we get to mostly stems. We'll compost the rest. Cool. Yeah. All right. So we'll run our knife through this. Just there we go. So it's parsley. It's going to be pretty tender. I don't mind a couple bigger leaves, chunks in there. We just want it mostly broken down. So I'm going to throw this in a bowl. So next up, chop up some capers.
What are capers?
Capers. What are they? So it's a berry from a plant.
Understood. Yeah. And are they pretty available, you know, at your local grocery store, King Soopers, Safeway, hard to find, or
Capers are super easy to find.
super easy to find?
Yeah.
Is there any brand to avoid, I guess?
No, I mean,
They're all just capers or capers?
So I mean, I guess. So there's going to be two major kinds that you find at a store. There's going to be salt packed ones, which are typically more like preserved in salt and like almost fresher, I would say. And then there's these kind that are stored in a brine. Now the brined ones, you don't have to worry about rinsing off. The salted ones, you kind of need to rinse because they're packed in salt for preservation instead of like sealed in the brine. So they're a little different as far as like what you have to do to them before you can use them, but it's relatively
Okay.
it's all the same stuff.
So just read the label.
Yeah.
If it's too salty, you probably need to wash it.
Yeah. So, lemon. We got a lemon here. Doing one lemon. So I've got a microplane. If you don't have a microplane, I'm going to show you what to do. So if you do not have a microplane, take your peeler. We're going to peel the zest. Cool. Then what I want you to do is kind of, after you peel it, stack it. And how we did the parsley, you're going to slice your zest super thin. All right, this is only if you don't have your microplane. This is kind of how you want to process your lemon. So that way, we're going to still get the flavor in here. Just kind of a different format. So that will help you if you don't have all the tools necessary here. But I'm going to finish grating this really quick. So I like to take your microplane and just kind of, these channels hold everything up top. It's easier to kind of see what you're doing using these. What? Oh, I got to get up under this camera here. So I'm not fully used to this, but right up there. So channel, tap it out. Good to go. All right. I'm going to put the juice in. Cool. It's good. All right. Chili flake. I like to use silk chili. Just doing a little in there. Aleppo chili flake. You can do the red chili flake from pizza. Oh yeah, we got Burlap Barrel. Little silk chili, Aleppo. Pizza red chili flakes is fine. Whatever you got. You could do Chipotle chili flakes. You know.
Is it mandatory that we put this in? Say, I have a allium allergy or a pepper allergy.
Oh.
Can I just leave it out? It's not going to change the flavor too much?
I mean, it's there to add a little spice, but like, yeah, if you have an allergy, if you don't want the garlic in here, or if you'd rather just instead of the garlic put a little minced onion. I mean, we're cooking, so there's no like necessary rules. I just kind of want to make everything taste great, and really that comes down to seasoning for the most part with salt, but cool. So garlic's here. Again, if you have a microplane for stuff like this, great to just microplane it in. If you don't, smash it with your knife and like mince it up really well. Or if you have a garlic press, if you want to go that route, so that way you don't have to deal with any of it, then cool. So everything's in. Add our olive oil.
What kind of olive oil are we using today?
We've got some Partana extra virgin here. I really like the flavor of this one, but really, as long as you can find something you're relatively confident in, you know, the olive oil industry, they like to cut olive oil with different oils and stuff. So, you know,
Okay.
yeah. Well, we're gonna add a little salt, and we're gonna stir this up and taste it. So lemon, little strong, so we're going to add a little more oil to counter that. But seasoning's there, and yeah. So
you say oil neutralizes the lemon. What if it's too salty?
if you over seasoned it off the rip, then you're going to have to add more parsley or something.
Okay. Say I forgot to wash those caper berries that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, add a little more parsley, add a little more lemon.
Yeah,
Kind of just balance it out.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you add everything, get that salt cut back. I mean, depending on how over it is, it might be better off starting over.
Go back to the store, get some more parsley. Parsley's cheap, right? So,
Yeah.
not too bad.
Yeah, but
Not gonna help right now though.
no, can't run to the store now. So, just make it work. I mean, we are. So, in this instance, this is getting tossed on the veggies. So, luckily, these veggies are not going to have salt in them unless we add it. So, that will also help in this point kind of balance it out.
Season a little less.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
nothing's ruined yet, is what you're saying.
No, not yet. Nothing's ruined.
You don't have to send your husband to the store.
All right. So, start processing veggies for the salad. I guess we'll check potatoes. I mean, there's no way they're done yet, but we can just kind of make sure.
How do you know when they're done?
We're going to just kind of poke them with a fork lightly. And if it goes in, you're good to go. So, but we're not there yet. So let's process some veg. We're gonna peel these. I mean, right now, since the veggies are like storage crop, kind of more cured than they would be if you were getting them fresh out of the ground, we're just gonna go ahead and peel these. The skin is gonna be a little thicker than they will be on like some fresh spring carrots. So
That'd be the same case if I got them from the grocery store instead of the farm.
Not necessarily. So sometimes it really just depends. I mean, store-bought, it can go either way. Sometimes they'll be sitting around for a while. Sometimes they're right off the truck and right from the farm. I mean, yeah.
So you're saying, if in doubt, just peel the carrot.
Yeah.
A little more to the compost.
Yeah, a little more for the compost. Which may or may not be going to pigs. I don't know. Cool. We'll do the beets last because they are going to dye everything. So lightly trim the top and bottom. All right, so we are going to, I'm going to slice these, and then it's called julienne. If you don't want to do this, you can grate them on a grater if you want. If you have like a box grater with a broad, something like with this shape. Where is it, up here? Mm. So something like this, a box grater. You can grate these if you'd rather just do that. I'm going to hand slice them, make them really nice, but you don't have to do that. So let's see, like this. All right. And I mean, I'm not, you know, if you get a really thick one, split that down again. Let's see. We don't have to like make these absolutely perfect. Like, I just want to make like a julienne vegetable salad. And if you don't, that is absolutely fine.
Chef, can you show me what is julienne, first of all?
All right, so julienne is matchstick size. So like a classic wooden matchstick. So I'm slabbing these all out right now, and then we're going to come back through them and slice them the other direction to make these like batons. Cool. One more here.
And again, you said, you know, if you want this to be kind of a faster prep time, just use a box grater, just use some type of grater. It does not need to be perfect.
I mean, like legit.
Do you do a mandolin with a...
You could grab a mandolin, you could literally just, you know, it's going to be a different look and texture, but it's completely fine to sit here and just put these over a grater really quick. I mean, I'm really just trying to make a vegetable salad to pair with the steak. You know, with this, it's the acidity in here. It's going to help cut through the fattiness of that ribeye we're going to be eating. So, and not to mention the potatoes are fried, so that's also going to be.
And where are these carrots from this time?
Oh, yeah. So the carrots, we are still on Sunflower Farms. For us locally, that's South Longmont. That's where we got the beets from. That's where our carrots are from. They're kind of one of the only farms now that have produce left. So,
and if I'm trying to cook more seasonally, carrots available all year round, or is there a proper time to really be trying to?
So really, heavily depends on your climate, but carrots typically available spring through fall, and you know, typically you have to pull everything out of the ground before the freeze, especially here in Colorado, because the ground turns into a rock because it's frozen. So if there's any carrots left, Unless it gets really, really cold, they can survive and like overwinter. And if you have a day like we had today where it's 70, you could go out and dig them up. And they'll be super sweet because the carrots release sugar to keep themselves from dying. Basically, like it's a defense mechanism of the plant. So
Okay.
it's pretty cool. So we've got these all slabbed out here. So we're just going to go back through. And like I said, matchsticks. Really nice. Juliennes. You can take a couple at a time and stack them. Just slice them down. I just like doing it this way for texture. And it'll look really pretty when we go to plate it. But it's going to be nice no matter what with the orange and the red. Whether you grate them, slice them. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just do coins out of it as well. But
I mean, that is like the nice thing about cooking, right? Is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly one way or it'll...
no, we just want it to taste great.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the end of the day. That's what this is about. So yeah.
Don't stress too much about knife cuts. Don't stress too much about cooking it. You know, just make it taste good.
Yeah. Sweet. Well. Yeah, and we have plenty of time to kill. I mean, we're waiting on potatoes to cook, and then we're going to cook this massive steak once the potatoes are kind of finished. And that'll probably take, I don't know, it'll take our steak like 20 minutes or so,
Okay.
I would think.
And we got that steak from Buckner Ranch, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I guess, you know, if anybody's watching has any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments.
Yeah,
Have you found that it's harder to cook seasonally here in Colorado than it was, say, in the Carolinas where you were working before?
Yes, so Carolinas, especially Charleston, we had year-round markets with year-round produce of something available. Here in Colorado, we, you know, unless you can find storage crops.
And what is a storage crop?
So storage crop is anything that you can put in a vegetable cellar and it will last. So the big ones are going to be like hardier radishes, so different varieties of daikon. So there's purple daikons, watermelon radishes, things like that. Purple top turnips are very hardy, so they will hold in a cellar. Rutabagas is a big one. That is in the South, even in general, because it still gets pretty cold in the South outside of like South Carolina or coastal cities stay a little warmer because of the Gulf Stream and whatnot. But rutabagas are like the last thing that are still there. And they just seem to, they'll hold for like 6 months in a cellar. Cabbage holds really well. What else? Onions. You can get storage onions, garlic, potatoes, you know, that kind of stuff.
So a lot of root veg, a lot of, you know, things that grow below the dirt.
Mostly, yep. I guess everything but the cabbage. Cabbage just does really well. Those outer layers start to cure and they'll kind of seal it. Kind of. And then it'll hold in that moisture. So yeah, we've got these. And we'll do a beet really fast.
Now, say my child doesn't like beets. Would there be a good alternative? Can I add bell peppers instead?
I mean, you can, for sure. So, I mean, the thing with bell peppers right now is they're coming from, a long ways away. So, I recommend you could even try this because of all the lemon and the herbs, like sneak it in on them. And they might not notice. I mean, this is going to be way different than any other preparation of beet.
Not eating canned beets from, who knows how long ago.
So it's just a lot different. And I mean, at this point, since the ground is frozen, these beets are going to be naturally have a little more sweetness to them. We peel them really well here and wash them beforehand, so the dirt flavor isn't going to be here.
I think that was one of the most frequently said things in the restaurants.
I mean,
people thought they didn't like a vegetable until they had yours, and it changed the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth giving it a try. I mean, I just ate a slice of that raw, and it just has a lot of sweetness to it. But I would say if they don't, you could just do carrots only. I would just skip trying to get peppers this time of year or tomatoes or anything like that.
I mean, it's like you said last week too, right? When you start going to local farms and getting local produce, the produce just tastes better.
Yeah, and dude, it really helps you appreciate it when it's here, and you just can gorge on it while it's in season, and then by the time it's over, you're tired of it.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that we worked with working with the farmers here in the kitchen is after 6 to 8 weeks you're like, all right, cool, I'm kind of ready for something else. I'm ready to get the next vegetable, next fruit in to start playing with that.
Yeah, I mean, ride it out, and then when it comes back,
you're excited for it again.
You're super stoked to have it again.
When rutabagas are like the last thing that anybody has, and you're trying to come up with dishes with that, start appreciating beets and everything else a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we're julienning this beet as well.
Oh yeah, I'm doing juliennes on this. Just make a nice julienne salad here. I just did those carrots. Plus, this is more than enough for the accompaniment for our steak. So yeah, we've just got this mixed bowl of awesome veggies. I mean, right like that. Cool. So I'm not going to dress these yet. I want the integrity of the carrots and the beets to hold up. So once we put the dressing on it, the citrus and the salt in that, this salsa verde, it's going to start breaking the vegetables down. It'll start extracting moisture, breaking the cell walls of the vegetables. So we're just going to keep them just like this. We're not going to hit them with the salsa verde yet. We're going to wait until pretty much right before we plate. So I'm going to just get my hands cleaned up. All right, so that's awesome. So now what we're going to do, we'll check our potatoes again. Like I said, I don't think they're done yet, but we're getting close. I mean, yeah. So my potatoes are done. So what we're going to do, strain these really quick. We're going to let them kind of just sit out and steam off a bit before we smash them. We want them to be handleable and all that. So cool.
Did you salt that water before
Yes.
you put the potatoes in?
Yeah, we salted it, tasted it for seasoning. That way these potatoes could absorb, a little bit of flavor.
And a lot of people say salt it like the ocean. Is that necessary, or is that
not for potato? So salty like the ocean is for 30-second to 1 minute blanching. When we're doing fresh vegetables in the spring and the summer, that is when we're going to salt it, because it's in there for such little time that we want it to be super seasoned so that the vegetables take up some of that seasoning. Now, something that's going to sit in there for 30, 40 minutes, you can't season like that. It's just going to come out way too salty. So anyway, we have these cool purple fingerlings. Really pretty. Sunflower Farm again. But they are done. But nice and tender, fork sank in. But they're not falling apart. So they're we're going to smash these once they cool. And we want them to kind of hold up a little bit. So but I'm just going to let them sit on the counter for now. All right. So with that done, they're cooling. I'm going to get some garlic oil kind of infusing because I want to brush that. I kind of want to put that over the potatoes and the steak when we're plating. So I'm going to infuse some olive oil with some garlic really quick. Let's see. We'll just do a very small amount. So I'm going to take 3 cloves. We'll do a really light smash. Just helps peel. That's all we want to do is get this just like that. Super easy to peel them. And I'm going to take the smallest pan we have. Garlic. Garlic oil. Cool. If I had something smaller, I would, but it's kind of what we have. So we're just going to put this on super low heat and let it infuse in the back here. Cool. So that's going to be on as low as it can. That'll slowly heat and infuse there. All right.
Why do you want the oil on low?
Because it's olive oil. So olive oil, especially extra virgin, is not made for high heat cooking or anything like that. You really don't want to get it up above 250 degrees. So that'll keep the integrity of the oil. Flavor wise, if you overheat it, it can get super bitter and it oxidizes and goes rancid really fast. So it can also give like an off taste to things if it gets too hot. I mean, rancid oil is gross, but I don't know.
So are we frying the garlic, or are we just trying to extract
Nope.
the flavor of
We're
it?
infusing the oil with flavor.
Okay.
So the garlic,
Should not be getting any color on it.
it won't get any color.
If it does start to get color, your oil's probably too hot.
Yeah, it's too hot if you start getting color on it. So cool. Potatoes are good. I guess we'll get. So we have this huge steak. I'm going to get mine going because it's also going to take a long time to rest. So if you do not have a 2 3/4 pound steak, I don't know if I would start it quite yet. So, what?
Move it underneath.
Oh,
There you go.
this-
There you
I
go.
don't know where we're headed. So, it's been tempering since we started this stream. What are we at? 39 minutes? So I'm going to start it. You know, look at these. I'm using a grill pan. I'm probably going to set off the fire alarm, so
We were taking bets on that.
yeah. And while our pan's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and get the pan that we're going to cook the potatoes in kind of set up. So last week I used some duck fat to cook some chicken. And that duck fat has been infused with all the tikka masala spices from that chicken that we did. So I'm going to fry my potatoes in that. If you have some avocado oil, or if you really don't want to fry them, after we smash them, you can toss them in a little oil and put them in a hot oven. It's not going to have quite the same effect, but they'll still be good.
What would you put your oven at if you were to go that route? Is hotter better, or do you want to have a little bit cooler of an oven, 350?
I think like at least 400. Now when we fry these, it's going to be 350. But it's a little different frying versus roasting. So,
because they're already cooked, right? You don't want to overcook them, so to speak, if you're in a colder oven. Right, they're just going to turn into mashed potatoes rather than like a crispy potato that you're going for.
Cool. Duck fat. Or if you wanted to use some lard, if you have lard sitting around.
Could I use maybe ghee?
You could do some ghee. Yeah. That's what you got. So this is you were on last week's. Somebody was asking if you could, keep the duck fat. So this, and I said as long as you scrape off the jelly, this is that jelly that sinks to the bottom of the confit when you're making it. So that is what would spoil your fat if you were to keep it. But that is just settled out. So. Cool. All right.
Will I be able to reuse this duck fat after you fry the potatoes in it?
Yes. You can keep it. It'll last for a while. At least a few uses before it'll go bad. So I'm going to put a little bit in this pan to cook my steak in. Not that it really needs it. This thing's pretty fatty, but.
What would you say the biggest mistake is if you're trying to cook a steak at home?
Well, I mean, I think a big one is just overcooking it or undercooking it, right? Unless you have a thermometer. Unless you got your thermometer to like temp it. Unless you've been cooking for a long time, it's never going to be perfect. So.
But that's why you talked about earlier, kind of being consistent with it, right? Just keep on doing it at the same time. That way you can progressively learn.
Yeah. Same way, every time. Cool. So that's going. Potatoes are chilling. Let's see. If you are not using a massive steak, we'll probably start cooking that here, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. So, cool. Well, if you're here and you're enjoying this, getting some information, whatever, having fun, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really is helpful for us to kind of get this information out to as many people as possible. Our goal here is to just really help people cook seasonally. So, yeah. And we appreciate you being here. So, I mean, kind of while we're waiting, we're going to get into kind of our daily our kind of discussion that we'd like to do, just while we have this downtime of things cooking and kind of hanging out. So since I have Jacob here, we're going to kind of talk about the challenges of cooking seasonally, and especially like if you're going into it now, this is your first season of just sticking to markets. Like the farmers markets will start April 5th. And if you're like super committed, the biggest challenges of just sticking to that is going to be, at least at the start, is the lack of variety, especially towards the beginning and the end. The middle is great because you have everything. So, and you know, I think a big one is like I cooked seasonally forever before we had Faro, but like for Jacob coming in, I feel like a big one was like everything he wanted to make, I'd be like, that sounds awesome, but it's not available. So I'd love to hear your take on like doing that for a couple of years and really.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of like you said, where it's, you know, like, hey, you know what sounds really good? Peach cobbler. I was like, well, peaches aren't in season right now, so we aren't really able to do a peach cobbler. But I think, you know, working with you and working in the restaurant, you know, you're able to kind of take those ideas, you know, be like, hey, what sounds good? Let's do steak with asparagus. It's like, well, we can't get asparagus right now, but maybe let's take that rutabaga that is in season right now, you know, and we'll cut it a certain way. Oh, and there goes the fire alarm. So someone won that bet, it seems like. Good old technical difficulties.
Sorry, just hit mute for a bit, I guess. Smoke alarm session. So this is why the alarm's going off. Maybe yours will go off tonight too at your house. I mean,
so do you think we need to, you know, alert the fire department if, you know, we're cooking a steak like this?
nah. Anyway,
so we see that oil starting to bubble in the back there while that steak's cooking.
Oh,
Is that a sign that it's getting too hot?
yeah, even on low. So just flip this oil over. Garlic's got a little color, but sweet, guys. Yeah, really sorry about the noise. So
There we go.
cool. We got at least the loud one disabled. Yeah, the garlic's getting a little color. Kind of take it off. Take it off the heat. Even low is too hot, so.
But now we're essentially like steeping the garlic in the oil, right?
Yeah.
We've opened up that garlic a little bit. We've let it kind of like release its own flavors.
Yeah.
And now we can just let it sit there and, you know, really kind of steep, for lack of a better term.
Steep like tea, I guess. So this ribeye, you know, it's super thick. So I'm going to throw it in an oven. I put our oven at like 425. That's going to take a while. So I started heating up our frying oil up here. We're going to go for 350.
Do you have any general guidelines, general tips on, saying we're cooking, what was that, like a 2-inch piece of steak? You think that'll take, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then in the oven, or?
I'm thinking like we started on the stove. I mean, I'm just going to check it periodically. I'm hoping that we're at like 115 degrees in like 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
We'll see.
And then we're going to let that rest, and what will be the final temperature on that?
So that should rest up to about 125, 130.
Okay.
As that heat penetrates into the meat. So we're looking at, it's a ribeye. I'd like that medium-ish temp on ribeye.
Right, 'cause you want that fat to render out a little bit.
Yeah, the fat needs to render. We gotta, you don't want to be chewing on like rare fat, in my opinion. Maybe you do.
So
I don't want to tell you how to live your life.
So you're saying it doesn't always have to be medium rare, like
No.
everyone online says. You're able to have different preferences.
No, I think it really needs to be based really on the cut is a big factor. Personal preference, another factor. There's still a lot of people out there that either don't like the kind of hemoglobin or whatever on their plate, so they want it like mid-well. And yeah, really just do what you want. But if you really want it mid-rare, we can make that happen. So
but again, it kind of goes back to kind of practice a little bit.
yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a ribeye, but you can always go and get one of the cheaper cuts and really kind of learn how your oven works, learn how your range works, learn how you work, and kind of what your kind of preferences that way.
Yeah, and like I like New York strips mid-rare to rare. Ribeyes I like medium. Fillets I like mid-rare or rare. It depends on like the day. Burgers I like mid-well, medium plus or so. I mean, depends on what you want. Okay. But potatoes are handleable. We're going to go ahead and smash them all really quick. So lightly, just kind of want to manage. Lightly kind of mash them. Not flat, but you want to break the skins open. And that's how we're going to fry them. So, just like that. So they're cooked. I mean, you could eat them like this if you wanted. Put a little salt on them. If you don't want to deal with if you don't want the extra added fat or grease, and you just want to have them like this, I mean, go for it. Hit them with a little flake salt. But I want to fry up some potatoes. I haven't had fried potatoes since we closed. So, I'm excited. So, if you have steak, now that we are smashing potatoes and about to fry them, if you have a thinner steak, let's go ahead and get that going. Get your pan hot, set off your fire alarms, drop it in, get a good sear on the one side. You want it to be kind of golden brown. Flip it. Depending on how fast your steak so basically, if you're searing your steak and you start to see blood pooling up through the seared side of the steak, pull it immediately. You're going to be at medium right there, guaranteed. But you have to pull it right then, because if you don't, it's going to overcook. So, yeah. If you have a thermometer, depending on how you want it cooked. For mid-rares, take your steaks. If you have a New York strip, you need to pull it at 100 degrees because they carry over a lot more just because of those whatever reason, those muscle fibers love to carry over cook. And if you want it mid-rare, you need to pull it at 100. Otherwise, pull it at like 110, 115. That way it'll carry up. Yeah.
And when we let it rest, a lot of people, at least my group of friends, they think that the steak's going to get cold. Is that true?
Well, it does somewhat. You want it to rest half the time you took to cook it. So like our giant steak's going to take 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So we're going to let it rest for 15 minutes. Yeah, a piece of meat sitting on my counter for 15 minutes. The outside is going to feel cold, so we're just going to pop it back in a hot pan to heat up the outside, but the middle is going to be perfectly cooked to like 125, 130. Like, that's not going to be cold. The exterior will be, so then you can just flash it in a pan real quick and then go to slice it or plate it however you want. But
cool. So I see all that duck fat kind of melting down.
yeah, it's melting down. You know, once I'm using a cast iron because it'll help retain the heat.
You said that final temp that we're looking for is 350?
350. Well, really, this is such a small amount. We'll probably do 360. So that way when we add all our potatoes, and it might cool it down a little, so that it's still up to our preferred frying temp. And we'll kind of have to play with the heat on your stove to keep it at that. You don't want to just keep it on high the whole time, because you don't want to get it up to like 400. So we're at 300 right now. Cool. Yeah, I mean.
So. But yeah, I mean, kind of going back to how, you know, when I first met you and, you know, started going back into cooking in restaurants, it's like pretty significant learning the seasons of Colorado, you know, and I know Colorado's a little bit more of a challenging state, but also, you know, once you kind of get into the habit of cooking seasonally and tasting the produce that comes with the season, it's pretty mind-blowing how good things taste. You know, I was a huge proponent that, you know, I'm like a lot of people where beets always just tasted like dirt to me, and I was never really a big fan of them. Lo and behold, you know, you get beets that are grown in good soil and, you know, from responsible farmers, and they taste way different than what you buy at the supermarket.
Yeah.
Carrots, you know, like we did a lot of work with Esoteric Culinary and Speedwell Farms, you know, getting their carrots, and I mean, it was like eating candy. There's so much sugar in those things, and that, you know, we had a lot of fun playing around with dishes, you know, adding a little bit of sweet to the savory, because we were able to capitalize on all the natural sugars. We didn't have to add any, you know, honey or white sugar or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty amazing that the produce can really speak for itself. And I mean, it's a lot healthier too. You know, we're not having to add in a lot of manufactured goods to make food taste good. But yeah, like, I mean, kind of going through the years, you start learning what's in season and planning for it too. So, you know, we'd start having discussions in November, maybe even October, about, you know, what we're planning for January and February, when we could not get a lot of produce. But, you know, talking with farmers is like, hey, you know, can you store onions for us? Can you store carrots for us? Can you store kohlrabi? You know, a lot of the storage crops that we were talking about earlier, you know, we planned ahead for a restaurant, but it was kind of understanding that we are kind of coming up on, you know, the peak of winter, and we're not going to be able to be getting a whole lot of fresh goods. And so kind of planning ahead a little bit plays a huge role.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, heck, we made some great dishes where, you know, say we wanted chicken carbonara. I was like, hey, well, you know, we don't really want to bring in chicken, so why not use kohlrabi instead? You know, you know, something, a tender root vegetable that you can cook, and, you know, you can still play with the flavors of a classic dish that you like, and use ingredients that are in season right now.
Yeah.
We did that a lot. We had a lot of kind of discussions with, all of our chefs at the restaurant where it's like, hey, what sounds really good? This. And it can be something completely off the wall. Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, well, we're in February. You're right. That does sound good. So how do we get to that end goal using what we have available?
Yeah.
And, a lot of it kind of just comes down to different cooking techniques, different spices, seasonings. We did we did something with caraway a while ago. That was just like absolutely mind blowing.
Oh, we did the yeah, it was cool. Like
it was
cabbage
yeah.
and like a pork dumpling.
Yep.
So we tried to recreate like a Reuben or something like that.
Yeah.
But make it into dumplings. And,
yep.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of like you said, it's like, well, cabbage, we had a lot of it, and we had great pork from the Buckners. And so it's like, why not, play around with different styles of food and really just have fun with it.
So yeah, no, it's fun to watch and see, and we're at 360 over here, so I'm gonna get these potatoes in. And by the time they're all in, it'll be tall enough to kind of fry them without flipping them. If you do not have that much grease and they are not quite covered, just monitor them. As soon as they're golden brown, flip them over very carefully. In your oil, we're going to do batches. And yeah.
Got to have a little bit of a faster hand with this technique. Right.
Any
tips for if we're shallow frying like this? Like you don't want to make a big mess. You don't want to burn your fingers, obviously.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to kind of drop food in like that?
At an angle away from yourself.
Okay.
Don't drop things in hot grease towards yourself and splash. Kind of make sure they fall away from you. That way, at least if you do kind of make a little mess, it's not on yourself.
Okay. And you want to drop it closer to the oil, right?
Yeah, get as close as you can.
That way we're not making the biggest splash zone possible.
Yep. So we're here. I'll check the temp to make sure we're kind of not getting too cold. Because if oil's too cold, like it's going to soak into what you're frying, unfortunately. That's kind of... So I cranked it to high just to get it kind of back up to temp really fast. And even though we were using hot potatoes, it still cooled it down to about 260. So.
And say, my thermometer is on back order from Amazon right now. But I still want to kind of cook along. What's a good way to kind of test the fat, the oil that we're going to be frying in without using a thermometer? Is there a way to do that?
Man. So, as long as it's bubbling, you could probably eventually get there.
Okay. What if I, got, one of the smaller potatoes, dropped it in real quick, see if it starts, to start frying like we're trying to do?
Yeah.
Is that, would that be like a pretty good way? If it doesn't boil or fry right away, kind of take it out, wait a little bit.
Exactly.
And then try again?
That's, if you don't have a thermometer and you're loading your potato in, if it does not bubble at all, pull that out. And we'll get back to that because it's just going to soak up grease and not do anything.
And we put that steak in the oven. We have not looked at it yet. Is that...
No, because it's thick.
Yep. Don't have to monitor it too much right now.
Not yet.
A thinner piece.
If my steak was thinner, I would for sure be checking this thing out. But
okay. So, reminder, if you're cooking at home, maybe go and check your steak.
Please. We can do it. So, if you have a bone-in ribeye, you're going to go as close to the bone as possible. We are hitting 95 degrees right now. So it's coming along. 90 degrees, like in the middle of the steak on the bone. So, like I said, we're going to take it to that about 110. So we're getting there. I mean, 20 degrees to go.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes or so.
So,
Be a good time to open the wine.
yeah, if you're drinking some good red, it's about time to get that bottle open. All right.
It's starting to smell real good in here.
I'm going to use a slotted spoon.
All right.
I'm just checking to see for crispiness. So my potatoes are red. It's a little harder to tell when they're golden brown. But if you have white fingerling potatoes, as soon as they're golden, just pick them out, use a slotted spoon, get yourself a plate with some paper towels on it to kind of let that grease drain off. But
And obviously, we're working with hot grease right now. If something catastrophic were to happen, say too much grease kind of spills out and a fire breaks out, what's the right thing to do?
do not use your red fire extinguisher.
There you go.
Do not do that.
But what? Just cover it with the lid.
You have to turn the heat off. Put something over the top of the grease, and you're just gonna have to
let it smother itself out, right?
Yeah, I mean baking soda. If you have a crap ton of salt, I mean there's just certain things you can put on it to help. Unfortunately, grease fires and your standard red fire extinguisher is not going to go well.
So
Neither is water.
yeah, absolutely do not put water on it. But yeah, so just put a metal lid on it, let it turn off the heat, let it smother itself out. Best practice.
Yeah, and if it gets out of control, maybe throw a towel over it, like enough to cover like a large area. But hopefully that's not happening.
We got a comment that says fire extinguisher needs to be rated K for cooking oil.
There we go. Cool. So I pulled my first round of potato out. I'm going to get this oil back to hot and we'll finish up. And then in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to check our steak again.
Yeah, so that oil dropped about 40 degrees?
Yeah, it's at 320. I had to kick it up to high.
Yep.
And that's even with warm potatoes going in it. I mean, it's... But they still came out nice. I mean, like I said, it's hard to tell because they're red, but they're crispy on the outside and still nice and soft in the middle. So while they're hot, I'm going to hit them with a little bit of this Maldon salt. We have this nice flake salt. Cool. We're about back up to 360. There we are. So I finished dropping these in really quick, and we'll check a steak, and we should be almost there for some plating. And
Dinner is served, right?
yeah, we'll toss our veggies and our dressing. And once the steak is sliced, we'll brush a little garlic oil over it, and we're pretty much home free. You know, hopefully everyone's steaks are done now.
So you mentioned, you know, kind of opening up a bottle of red. Lisa, real quick before you get out of here, what kind of wine should we be drinking with a meal like this?
With this, I would probably do anything from medium to heavy. You want something with some tannin. With the tannins, you know, they'll help cut through some of that fattiness on the steak so that it sort of refreshes your palate every single time you go to take a bite out of that fatty ribeye. And it'll taste like the first bite all over again. This is like one way that wine and food can really just jam with each other. So anything like, you know, a Cabernet, a Merlot, if you've got some Nebbiolo, that would be great with this. If you have some Rhone Valley wines, you know, whether it's a Syrah or a Chateauneuf du Pape or a Saint Joseph or something along those lines, like those could be super awesome with it. Yeah, anything that's just got some body and some tannin. Give it a little punch, and it'll balance out that fattiness of the steak and just complement it perfectly. I think that'll be incredible.
Well, thank you. All right, Chef, how are we looking?
Man, we are looking great. We're at like 105 on the bone. And with this really thick cut being I'm probably going to pull it here. Because this heat, like we had it at 425. The hotter your oven, the more this heat's going to penetrate. So, I don't know. 105 on the bone. That means the rest of this steak, I mean, we are looking great.
Yeah, beautiful color on that.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it over here. I mean, that's amazing. So,
Ooh. And that oil, that olive oil,
yeah.
I guess is now or garlic oil. So that we should be about ready on that as well, correct?
Garlic oil. Smells insane. These potatoes, the last round is coming out. And
It smells so good in here. That duck fat's insane.
the duck fat, the garlic oil, the steak has a nice...
So Lisa, quick
Oh.
question for you. Shinkini asked, what about a rosé champagne?
Rosé all day.
I mean, I think that could definitely work too. I would prefer the rosé over like a tradition, like a white champagne, just because you want some of that fruit in there a little bit. Hopefully, it's had a little skin contact, so you get a little touch of the tannins from it. But yeah, anything that's like Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier dominant would be great with this. I don't think I would go Blanc de Blanc. Like I wouldn't do 100% Chardonnay on this because I guess it could kind of hold its own, but it wouldn't be quite the same. But yeah, I think we could do champagne.
Fuck yeah.
I'm never gonna turn it down.
No. These potatoes are awesome. So, what's that? What do we got? Potatoes are awesome. You guys, it's getting good. So, now that we're super close to plating, I'm going to go ahead and dress our carrots And maybe you guys have already plated because your steak's been done for 20 minutes and you're off. But
still going.
so.
And we did not season these beets and carrots, right?
Not yet.
We did all the seasoning in the dressing.
Right now, so I'm gonna, for now at least, we're gonna toss. We're tossing these carrots and beets in this like salsa verde, which I'm using as the vinaigrette. So, and like I said, we waited so that everything stays nice and crispy. And so now we're gonna take.
You have a guest chef over there. You better be careful he doesn't steal that ribeye.
I want more acidity. So I'm gonna go ahead and load it up with all of it. Cool. So we've got it all in here. Beautiful. Oh, it's perfect. Doesn't need salt. Between the capers and the salt we added to the salsa verde, it's wonderful. Nice brightness to it. I'm going to come over here and turn off this heat, pick out the last of the potatoes.
Nice. These potatoes look fantastic. And we're just gonna let this fat cool off.
Yeah, we'll let it get down to where it's not like, maybe down to like 100.
Before we put it away.
And we'll strain it through a little wire just to catch any little potato bits.
Okay.
But it's not, like you can see the color on the spoon.
Yep.
How that is still perfectly good to keep. So we'll just strain it and throw it back in the fridge until the next time.
What would make it not good to keep?
Well, you'll notice that one, it'll just be smoking, which means all the fatty acids have broken down. Two, the color will just get brown and it'll almost look like motor oil, like used motor oil.
And taste like it too.
Yeah, it'll taste like it too. So.
All right. We got a question here. Is
Cool.
there a method for cutting up the steak, tomahawk, if we're splitting it for two?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. I gotta let ours rest. But if yours is rested up and you're ready to roll, what we're gonna do is take your knife, you're gonna go down the bone. All right? And, everybody's the term go against the grain. Well, so against the grain is sliced like this, and you're certainly not going to do that. So all you want to do is after you take out that bone, slice it down all the way, but be fair because the decal is arguably the best part. So you got to share that.
Or not.
Or not, I don't know. If you're hearing this and your partner doesn't know the wiser, then you could trim that off and put it on one plate.
I would fight you for that.
But so yeah, you just honestly just slice it all the way down. Or if you wanted to be fair, you could cut off the decal. That's this here. That's that spinalis is the term for that muscle. And you can slice that individually and split it between both plates and then do the eye.
Why is the decal so special?
It's just super tender and amazing. I mean, yeah. So, cool. Well,
And you said that we want to let it rest for half the time that we cook
about
it,
half
right?
the time you took to cook it. So, I think that was about 20 minutes that we took. I mean, it cooked pretty quick. So, another like 4 or 5 minutes and we're good here.
Okay.
So, I'm going to grab a couple plates.
And then, is there anything that, I mean, for a tomahawk like that, bone in, is there a benefit to doing bone in rather than bone out?
It just looks cool, personally.
It's really good for parties, kind of showing off.
Yeah, because, I mean, people say the bone adds moisture or what. I'm sorry.
No comment on that one?
I don't. You know, if anything, it just slows down the cook time. Like, it's really just this just looks cool.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty awesome. Like, you don't see stuff like this all the time. Like, I don't know. But that's me.
Doesn't necessarily have to be bone in then. There's no real huge benefit to...
There are other chefs that'll fight me for that. I don't know. For me personally, I mean,
that's fair. That's fair.
It's a show thing.
Yeah.
Like,
you're hosting a party. You want to, wow some guests.
Yeah, dude.
Get a couple bone in and
perfectly cooked bone in ribeyes.
Yeah,
it's a good time. So, and it really, with this having to rest another 2 minutes, if you wanted to at this point, heat up your pan, re-flash the outside if you're worrying about it being too cold or whatever, just to get it back hot. At this point, it's not about like overcooking it or not. That heat has penetrated through. So, like, you just flashing the outside is not going to make or break it at this point. So, if you don't have it perfectly cooked now, then
it's still going to taste good, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not perfectly cooked.
Even, like...
It's still going to be
We
delicious.
use a really high-quality meat. So, like, oh, man, if this happened to be mid-well, just by...
I wouldn't be upset.
It's still going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So...
I think that's a lot of... one of the big things that you kind of taught me, even if, like, you feel like you've made a couple mistakes along the way, is that things can still taste good. A lot of things can, if it's seasoned properly, the right amount of salt, the right amount of spices, the right amount of, acidity and all that stuff. If, your meat's cooked a little bit too long or your potatoes are a little overcooked, it's still going to taste amazing. So
let's see. I'm happy with where we're at on this rest time. For me. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come in here. The dog's excited.
The sous chef, he's
so
learn at home as well.
Cut up bone, just right along. So we got that. This part up here, it's tough because you don't. So we're gonna slice this. We're just gonna see. So we're gonna go nice and thin.
So this is gonna be a really good way to portion it out if you're feeding, 2-3 people.
This steak could feed easily 4 people. So.
And then the ends are gonna be a little bit more cooked or less cooked. Would you say?
The edge all the way around will be more cooked. It's like if you're eating a roast, your ends are always, and then the area by the bone, because I didn't want to like really overcook it, and I'm going to reheat some of this too. So I'm going to take the most done parts and eat them now. And then anything that's like a little more towards mid-rare, we're going to save and I'm going to reheat it. But so you have this like mid-rare, closer. I don't know if that picks up. I don't know if that color picks up on camera or not. Like it might be.
Yeah, I think if you point it towards me a little bit, you'll be able to see that.
Oh, you got it up here?
I do, yeah.
Nice. So
That's a beautiful, beautiful cook on that.
that's mid-rare. You know, I would even like it a little more medium than this, but the bone being in it, it really can throw you off. But I pulled that at 105 on the bone. So, and this, mid-rare, like 125, I'd say. Like, that's a really nice mid-rare. So, I mean, you could see 105 on the bone, and you get this. So, but yeah.
So, say, we pulled it at 110, 115. That carryover cook would have brought it up more to like a medium.
Yeah.
You'd see
just
a brighter red in the middle, not that deep red.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, when you're eating it, the decal all here, that's all medium. This is all medium steak right here on that.
Yep.
That outside.
So I mean, and that's also a good point. If you're splitting it between 2 people, 3 people, and one person likes more of a medium cut or a medium cook, one person likes more of a mid-rare, you do have that opportunity to have multiple kind of relatively cooked on the same piece of meat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because if you took it up further, if somebody wants it more well done, mid-well, it's easy to do. And then you can have stuff more towards the inside. I'm going to plate here. We're just going to do a few potatoes on the bottom. What's up?
Oh, we just having some just some technical difficulties, but
Oh, okay. Well,
we're at the final stages now.
whatever. I'm going to do this. And then we'll just put a little bit of this vegetable salad. I'm going to kind of go right there. So now you have this wonderful plated. Don't forget about, we're going to do a little bit of this garlic oil. Not that it does not need this. This is ridiculous, but
you want it, right? You want it.
I mean, I do. And then we're going to hit it with a little flake salt to finish. And, if you're checking this out from right there, I mean, there's your plate. Vegetables, steak, potatoes, and that's it. So, honestly, thanks for being here.
Cool. And there's that top-down version.
Hope you guys loved it. We've got this here. So, if you're still here and you want to do a corned beef brisket for Patty's Day, I will be going over brine and the perfectly cooked brisket for that, but it's going to be something that you kind of got to plan out. So if you want to do it, join in. We got the recipe on the blog for that. So but thanks for being here, you guys, and have a great evening.